You are being watched. Every merchant in this city knows your name. Every farmer owes you something. You've traded grain across 3 provinces, and you've done well, very well. But tonight, you can't sleep. Because somewhere out there, someone knows where you keep your grain. And that's the problem with being rich in 2000 BCE. There are no locks strong enough, no walls high enough, and no system to protect what you've earned. Until someone had an idea. And that idea, born right here, in this city, in this temple, would eventually become the most powerful invention in human history. This is the story of the first bank in the world, and you're going to live it. Let's set the scene. It's roughly 2000 BCE. Babylon sits in the heart of Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. This is one of the most sophisticated civilizations that has ever existed. They have written language, legal codes, mathematics, astronomy. But money, not the way you know it. This economy runs on barter. You want a new clay pot? You better have something the potter needs. Maybe grain, maybe wool, maybe a favor you'll regret later. It works, mostly. But it's slow, messy, and deeply unfair. Imagine trying to buy half a cow. You can't split a cow. Imagine traveling 3 days to sell your harvest and arriving to find everyone already has grain this season. Your trade collapses. And worse, if you've had a good season and have more grain than you can use, where do you put it? In your house? Thieves. In a pit? Rats. In a jar underground? Flood. Wealth, in this era, is terrifyingly fragile. But you, Caleb, you've figured something out. And tomorrow morning, you're going to walk into that temple and change your life. The Temple of Marduk is the most sacred and most powerful building in all of Babylon. It is the house of the god, and because of that, it is untouchable. No thief would dare steal from a god's house. No army would dare burn it. No famine could touch it, because the city would starve before letting the temple go empty. The priests understand something brilliant: safety is power, and they've been using it. For decades, the temple has been storing grain and silver on behalf of the city's wealthiest merchants. And in return, they ask for a cut. Sound familiar? That's a storage fee. The world's first bank charge. You enter the outer courtyard. A priest, calm, shaved head, white linen, approaches you. Caleb of the Eastern District. We've been expecting you. You have a considerable harvest this season. 40 bushels of barley, 3 talents of silver. I need them stored, protected. Of course. And you understand our terms? He produces a small clay tablet, still wet. He begins pressing symbols into it with a reed stylus. This is the moment. This clay tablet, smaller than your hand, is about to become the most valuable thing you own. It is a record, a receipt, proof that your grain exists, that it belongs to you, and that the temple guarantees it. It is, in every sense that matters, money. But here's where it gets interesting. The temple isn't just storing your grain and sitting on it. They're using it. That farmer over there, the one with the calloused hands and the desperate eyes, he had a bad harvest. His family is hungry. He needs grain to survive the winter and to plant again in spring, but he has nothing to offer. So the temple lends him grain, your grain, from the communal store. And in return, when his next harvest comes in, he repays with extra. 20% extra for grain loans, 33% for silver. The priests just invented interest. And honestly, it's not evil, it's logical. The temple takes on risk by lending, the borrower gets to survive, and the system keeps the whole city functioning even through bad seasons. Your grain safely stored, doing nothing, is now actively working, earning, growing. You didn't just deposit grain today, Caleb. You became an investor. Welcome to the world's first financial system 4,000 years before Wall Street. Now, here's something remarkable. Walking back through the temple courtyard, you pass a towering black stone pillar. Carved into it, thousands of tiny cuneiform symbols. This is the Code of Hammurabi, written around 1754 BCE, one of the oldest legal codes ever discovered. And buried in its 282 laws are rules specifically about banking. Law 100. If a merchant gives a loan and the debtor cannot repay the principal, the interest is cancelled. Law 122. If a man gives another man silver or goods for safekeeping, he shall show witnesses and draw up a contract. Law 124. If a man gives another man goods for safekeeping, but the keeper denies it, that keeper shall be convicted and shall repay double. Think about what this means. The government of Babylon wrote banking into its constitution. They regulated deposits. They regulated loans. They protected borrowers from predatory lenders. The concept of consumer financial protection laws, not invented in Washington in 1970. It was carved in stone in Babylon in 1754 BCE. They were doing this 4,000 years ago. The temple banking system of Babylon doesn't die. It evolves. Around 600 BCE, the Greeks pick it up. Their bankers, called trapezitites, set up tables in the marketplace. In fact, our word bank likely comes from the Italian word banco, meaning bench or table. The banker's bench. The Romans expand it further. They create what we'd recognize as loan banks, currency exchange, and even early forms of credit. Then, in 1157 CE, Venice creates the first true public bank, the Bank of Venice. It's established to help the government raise money for war. The Republic borrows from citizens, who earn interest. The government gets funded. The people grow their wealth. Sound familiar? That's a government bond. Still exists today. In 1407, Genoa opens the Banco di San Giorgio, arguably the first bank with shares. Citizens could buy a stake. If the bank profited, so did they. That's a stock. Born in Italy in 1407. And in 1668, Sweden opens the world's first central bank, the Sveriges Riksbank. It issues paper money, manages national monetary policy, and becomes the model that every central bank in the world, including the US Federal Reserve, is based on. All of it, every single bit of it, traces back to a priest in Babylon pressing a reed into clay. You leave the temple with a small piece of dried clay. Your grain is inside, safe, working, earning. You don't know it yet, but what you just did, this transaction, this contract, this act of trust between a man and an institution, will be repeated billions of times a day, every day for the next 4,000 years. Every time someone taps a phone to pay for coffee. Every time a farmer takes out a loan to plant his field. Every time a country issues a bond to fund its future. Every time a child opens their first savings account. They are doing exactly what you did today, Caleb. In this courtyard, in this city, in this moment. The bank was born in a temple, governed by priests, built on grain, and encoded in stone. And it never, ever stopped.